If you want financial freedom, time freedom, and want to leave a legacy for generations to come, you probably have heard real estate investing is the place to do that. How do you get started? What do you have to do? When's the right time? If you are looking for those answers, you've come to the right place. My name is Kyle Stanley, and this is Fearless Flipping. My mission is to help you learn this business and conquer real estate investing. Hello to our Fearless community. I am excited to have you here on episode number 2 with Deb Cousins. If you didn't check out the first episode, you've got to. She is such a joy. She's going to put a smile on your face, and she has just some amazing stories that she shares there in that first episode. In this second episode, we're talking about cash flow. Deb's got a very interesting mindset about especially single-family units moving forward in our lifetime. I really, there's so many different things out there, so many different people with different approaches, and so you need to take everything with a grain of salt. And I would say that everyone's got their own expertise. Now, with Deb being in this since 1996, I think she knows what she's talking about. But at the same time, don't take what she shares today as I shouldn't invest in single family, because if you get deeper and deeper into this conversation, into this interview that we had with Deb, you will see that aside from some of those things that may be missing, there's just so many advantages of being a part of real estate, buy and hold, that strategy. So once again, subscribe. Make sure you're hitting that notification bell on the YouTube channel. Make sure you're checking us out on Instagram, Fearless Flipping 316, and make sure you listen to this entire episode with Deb Cousins. Deb Cousins right here to my left. She is a wealth of knowledge. If you missed the first episode, you got to go back. Even though most of what we talked about was your story, Deb, there was just so many learning nuggets in that. And we talked a lot about the fluctuation of market cycles, figuring out what works for you versus necessarily trying to conform to what you're learning, for example. But at the same time, you've got to use those strategies. So I'm going to let you go back and watch that. You need to watch that before moving into this. And the number one thing we're going to talk about today is cash flow. But the number one thing that we missed talking about in our last episode, Deb, was self-education, because you started this at a time in 1996 when no one else was doing it.
Right.
What's Google? What's YouTube?
Yeah.
What's a smartphone? None of that was around. And so I'm sitting there thinking about, like, if I didn't have YouTube and podcasts right now, where in the world would I be? I'd be guessing. So how did you do that?
Or how about your GPS?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I would have killed for a GPS. I had paper maps, and it was, I would bribe my children with ice cream cones if they would go look at property with me. They still remember that.
I'm sure that worked too.
It did. It worked well. But it was just the way you did things. But like I said in our last episode, that people told me I couldn't do this. I couldn't flip houses. I couldn't, it was going to take too much money. I couldn't, it wasn't done. Nobody's doing this. Well, I started with looking back again to our market cycle and looking at the number of foreclosures. And so what I would do is I would go to the courthouse steps, stand on those steps, and I would have done my homework on properties that I thought would be good, and I would see what they were auctioned off for. Now, there was nobody else on the courthouse steps. There was me. So one other time there was one man.
How did you think to do that then? With no one telling you to do that, what was it?
Reading.
Okay.
Books. Yeah, I would get all those zero, buy real estate with zero down, and all the people that had books out. I can't even remember their names at this point. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that's where I started. I thought, okay, I'm going to start my education with reading. And see, the internet was, it was around. Mm-hmm. But like you said, no social media to get out there and connect with people. No YouTube to physically see how you do things. So reading and research was the way you did it. And paper maps.
Well, I need to commend you and also use this as a way to motivate people that are listening and watching right now. And that is, no matter, despite what people were saying, you went with, once again, your gut, and you said, I can do this. And
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people told me when I made this decision in January of this year of 2019 that there's no deals out there. There's,
Yeah.
the margins are too thin. And you can get so wrapped up in all of these wannabe experts and start to doubt yourself. And so
Yeah.
you stuck to your guns, you went for it. And so I just need to, I need to
Yeah.
give you a little golf clap for that.
Thank you.
And so
Yeah.
in this self-education, you get to this overlying arching theme of cash flow. And that's what we were going to talk about
Yes.
today. So what was it
Yes.
about cash flow as you're flipping these homes and now you're thinking, I want to hold on to them? Why
Yeah.
was it cash flow that attracted you?
Well, cash flow is, money in your pocket, and you can do things. I had 3 kids, approaching teenage years quickly, and all the things that, go with teenagers.
Yep.
But it was, replacing what our family jokingly calls a real job. Your 9 to 5, trading your time for dollars. Well, I traded my time for dollars, but it was my time. I could work it around my family, and for our situation, that was a good solution. And so that cash flow, we looked at it and we said, okay, if we can make $150 a door, that would be good, for our purposes. And so that's what we did. So when we would start out in our figures, and in some of our first deals, it was interesting because I would do things to kind of throw off the seller a little bit, where I would put even cents down in my contract or an odd number. Contracts are usually done whole numbers. I would do, like make my offer and add a $2.56 or something, in it. And the agent I was working with at the time thought I was a little bit crazy, but she says, okay, I'll do this. Well, it was a strategy that worked. That was crazy, but that's how I kind of got attention, and it made the seller think, okay, this person may think, or they know what they're doing, which I, at the time, didn't
really
have a
is
clue.
true, though. When I see someone that is charging, and this is kind of a common theme today, I think a lot of people are catching on to it, these online courses that they're not $1,000, they're $997.99. It's
Yes.
like, what? Oh, wow. So that,
$9.97.
what's making it a $2.01 value less? It really does make you think that you have
psychologically,
gone down to the per square foot of what it's
Yeah.
worth. So that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah. It was a crazy strategy. I haven't used it in a long time, but it's still something to kind of keep in the back of your mind for that. But we were not counting on any accounting. Yeah, accounting on any appreciation.
Okay.
So that was in that market with the cycle again, down market. So you buy for cash flow. So you have that cash coming in monthly. The tenant is paying your debt, your mortgage. So I know people have heard that over and over again, but it's really true. They're paying that mortgage for you. And I liked to buy in groups, 5, 6 homes at a time from, we had a group of doctors that were mad at each other that we purchased homes from, and, a contractor that was going bankrupt. And those were, 2 of the deals. So then you kind of offset that, that vacancy problem with a single family. It's, if you have a single family home and you have a vacancy, you have 100%. Yeah. So it negates that somewhat. But the cash flow allows you to then not only have a living, but use it for other investing, and it's that cash cow that just keeps coming and coming and coming, and that's I like that.
Absolutely.
I like those kind of cows.
Are you struggling to find deals? Are you spending hours of time networking, knocking on doors, cold calling, and feeling like you're chasing your tail trying to just get one frickin' deal? I interviewed over 100 real estate investors in 6 months, and they all said the same thing to me. The toughest part about this business is finding the deal. So my question to you is, wouldn't you like deals coming to you? Well, guess what? That's exactly what you can find with RealFlow. RealFlow is a CRM system that automates just about everything for you. From email campaigns, direct mail campaigns, text messaging, and more. Your phone can be ringing right now with prospective sellers if you just utilize RealFlow's awesome technology. Go to fearlessflipping.com/real to get your free 30-day trial started now. That's right, RealFlow wants our Fearless Flipping community to enjoy their platform for absolutely free for 30 days. Go to fearlessflipping.com/real right now to try it out. fearlessflipping.com/real. I want to stick on something that you just said there.
Okay.
Which was that it sounds to me like your number one thing for looking at rental properties is not necessarily speculating what it's going to be worth 5 years from now. It almost sounds like your strategy is, hey, let's know what we can control, which is the cash flow and the fact that the tenants are paying the debt. And if we get that appreciation, it's kind of a bonus.
Right.
Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's really interesting because for me, one of the things that I'm always looking at is those three factors of cash flow plus the debt equity that the tenants are paying, plus that appreciation. That's what makes real estate so attractive. So if I take away the appreciation, you're telling me it's still a great investment. So what do you have to, I guess my whole question here is I'm just kind of evaluating what you're saying and trying to figure this out. How do you justify still getting into real estate if someone's like, well, if I'm not going to see appreciation, why am I going to get into real estate? What's the power of that cash flow then that you've seen?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a regular job, you get your paycheck. Well, it's kind of the same thing with cash flow. You get that paycheck coming in every month. Only with real estate, those paychecks are a lot bigger. And you've got the bonus of the tax benefits, the tax write-offs. So I'm a real estate professional, and I'm not an agent, but I'm a professional. And that allows me to work on my real estate full time and also get the tax write-offs for it. So if you've got a partner that is got a regular W-2 income, and then you're doing real estate, well, you've not only got this cash flow coming in to supplement your income or make it your income, your lifestyle, you can also
write off the depreciation.
Write it off. Yeah, write off. You have your tax write-offs, and it, goes against. Of course, it depends on how you have your entity set up, but goes against your, that W-2 income. Mm-hmm. We're able to provide cars for our kids when they were teens. Not new cars. I don't go out and buy new cars, but to supplement that lifestyle, and that with that cash flow is. To me, it's everything. And like I said, and then, like you already said, that bonus is the appreciation. But I'm going to revert back to our first episode and talking about those market cycles and that appreciation. I don't think we're going to see it again like we've seen it in the past for a long time. I think we've got to go through some things first. Then we're going to see. You always have growth markets, where there are jobs. And that's the difference between investing in single family and investing in multifamily. I'm looking for something different in multifamily than I did in single family. I am looking for those growth markets. Where are they putting the new Amazon center? Where are they, where is Intel building a new plant? Where are those companies driving those jobs to? And then with multifamily, you also have your investors. That's how multifamily is purchased. So they're looking for appreciation, cash on cash return of, a higher percentage rate. So that cash flow is everything, that value add on what you can add to those properties and bring that cash flow up. It's, yes, appreciation and return on investment is important, but again, we go back to that cash flow, and I call it managed cash flow, because if you're fixing up, whether it's multifamily or it's single family, every dollar counts. I cannot tell you the number of times people have said it's only $20. Well, you multiply that over the number of doors you've got, that adds up, hundreds and thousands of dollars, and especially at multifamily, you're talking, $20, $30, $40,000 easily. So that cash flow, if you look at the cash flow and what you've got coming in every single month, you can then plan on what you're doing investment-wise, lifestyle-wise. Take that vacation.
Yeah.
It's live now. I guess it's a live now strategy, which I'm somewhat of a planner, but it's also enjoy life. If you're going to work hard, enjoy life. I've had a lot of friends that, well, when I do this, I can do this. I don't recommend that. Do what you can. If you're just starting out and you've got a little bit of cash flow, do something to reward yourself and your family for that, where maybe you just drive to the coast for a day, or we would do lots of little things, where it wouldn't cost us a lot, but yet it would still be a reward for your job. It's just like if you do have a regular job, you get incentives and you get, your boss will give you kudos and that kind of thing. So you need to do that with yourself because you're self-employed. And so you need to do that and also segment your time. I would schedule. I only work X to X, and the rest of the time is my free time. And you've got to do that when you're working for yourself, which I suppose works into cash flow a little bit because it's you've got to learn how to do that.
So I'm struggling to figure out which question I want to ask you next. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask. I'm going to ask the fun question first.
Okay.
You talked a little bit about what cash flow allows you to do. Can you just talk about the lifestyle of where cash flow has led you to and the freedoms maybe that you have now?
Oh gosh. I don't usually talk a lot about myself. That's just the way I am.
Well, now you have to.
I have to talk. I have to talk. We've enjoyed a lot in our lifetime. Not only have we been able to provide well for our family, but also for others. We're very big in either certain charities or individuals, very big in supporting any kind of education, whether it be, a self-taught educated person or somebody that wants a more of a formal education, learning however is the best method for you is we've been able to do that, support people in different things. We've traveled all over, which has opened our eyes a lot in many different ways. We just got back from Mexico, and always learning something. I love people and love to see the cultures and learn from it. Learn different things. So it's been able to do that. We were able to have a wonderful time with, I call it a boat. We had a 45-foot Morgan that we moored down in San Diego, and that was an awesome time we had. There is a season for everything. They say the best time in a boat owner's life is the day you buy it and the day you sell it. But in that in between, those dots in between was great. We would take foster kids out sailing, and we would take mostly youth groups. We had a group of deaf children that we took out one time. Wow. That was a little scary because they couldn't hear, which is understandable, and we don't know sign language to tell them to, move out of the way because when you're sailing, things move quickly. Yeah. But it's awesome, and so we've
so much giving back. Which if people haven't already heard it in your voice, you can tell how big of a heart you have and how much of a joy that you are to be around. And so I think this business found you for exactly that reason that you just talked about, which is giving back. So that's really cool. All right, now the more hard-hitting question, and then we're going to wrap this thing up.
Okay.
I think I reversed this. I should ask this one first. Someone's listening right now, and they've heard from all sorts of different people, and the biggest thing that's probably holding them back from getting into any sort of real estate is, but then the tenant beats up the property and there goes your entire profit for the year and you got to find a new tenant, all the headaches. How do you answer that question for them?
Search your heart. Search your heart, because it's true. It's very true. I managed all Section 8 tenants. I have some horrendous stories I can tell you. And like you said, just kind of looking at me, you would go, her outside doesn't appear her inside, because I had some really tough situations I had to deal with tenants. Always look at it as a business. And in business, there's a cost of doing business. You can negate some of the things, by screening tenants. And if you've got, Class A tenants, which I'm crossing my multifamily now, there's classes. If you've got that upper end tenant, you can still have problems, but you're not going to have probably the same types of problems if you're doing the low income. But I found a niche in doing the low income, and it's hard to explain, but they are truly appreciative when you can provide decent housing. And that rapport that you build with them is everything. And I've had places totally trashed. It's what you carry insurance for.
Yeah.
But it's a cost of doing business, and if you can think of it that way, and keep your emotions out of it. Keep your emotions out of investing.
That is what I have learned is probably number one about this. Numbers.
That's quick learning. Good job.
So, with you being such a people person, would you change anything about how you manage those properties? Would you hire a property manager? Would you hire someone else to do this for you, to provide you with less anxiety? I feel like I know what this answer is going to be because you like people so much. You like seeing their joy, but I want to ask that question.
Yeah. I think you get to a certain point where you do need to get a property manager. In my experience, because I tried it, dealing with Section 8, there's, you've got to follow rules and regulations, and they do not do that. And so to find a company that fits your niche is pretty tough. And you can never find one that's going to take care of like you do. But there are some great ones out there that need, and they will take care of your property. And at this point, I would do that. But it needs to make economic sense, I showed up to many school functions in my dreams with paint and dirt and never any fingernails. I've mentored a couple of people, and the first thing I say is, lose those fingernails. They're going to be gone. Yeah. But I think you have to evaluate the situation. And again, number-based. And what do you want to do? Do you want to be hands-on, or do you want to turn over and move forward with more properties? Yeah. I have...
a lot like what we talked about in our first episode, which was find your niche, find what you want to do. Some people want to have the hammer, they want to have the shovel, they want to be taking checks from others, and then there's people like me that I want to delegate as much as possible so that I can have as much time freedom as possible. So it really
Yes.
you got to find what is
And
right for you.
I'm a delegator. I like to see the big picture, see what needs to be done, and then build my team and make that team channel in.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
Well, you are
yes.
so much fun. I've enjoyed this
Thanks,
for
Kyle.
sure.
You are too.
Oh, thank you. Well, I want to make sure that people know where to go to connect with you. As we talked about in the first episode,
Okay.
Deb's mission right now is to help her family, her kids, to be getting into the multifamily side of cash flow. And so with that comes opportunities for a lot of people to help with that mission. And if you're looking to, find ways to invest and don't quite have the time, what Deb's got might be a really good fit. So we would really encourage you to go visit their website. And that website is?
drpinvestmentproperties.com.
And that stands for doable,
Repeatable,
repeatable, profitable.
profitable.
All right, talk about why doable, repeatable, profitable.
This is what we started with in the very beginning, and we decided to, everybody, what are you going to name your company? Well, we started just automatically saying this, is this doable? Can we do it? Yeah, you can. Anybody can do it. Anybody. It just takes that dedication and that willingness to do it and take some action. Is it doable? Is it repeatable? As you know, in business, if you have a system and repeat, that was it. Yes, our system could repeat, and profit.
Self-explanatory
So,
on that one.
yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, that's drpinvestmentproperties.com. You can also get Deb at drpinvestmentproperties.com.
Yeah.
Any last words here, Deb?
No, just take action. That's what and follow your passion.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
is your time
Yeah.
to conquer real estate investing. You know where to find the show notes, fearlessflipping.com/Deb Cousins. You can check her out there. It'll direct you straight to her website as well. And, be a part of the mission that she's going for if you'd like. And at the very least, take the advice that she's given you. Find a way, just like what we talked about in both episodes, catered to your personality, your goals, what is going to be your business model, and just follow that with your gut, and also try to get rid of that emotion. We talk about that all the time, putting the emotion aside and just going for it with the math or the numbers. That's it for this episode of the Fearless Flipping Podcast. It is your time to go out and conquer real estate investing.